Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Business Law Teach and Share. We're super excited to be talking with you guys today. Let's just jump, right into it. So, today we're going to be covering chapter 26, which is corporate law. Very fascinating, very fun, super interesting lesson. I hope you guys enjoy it. So let's go ahead and, as always, talk about the sections that we'll be talking about. So, of course, as always, we'll go over the introduction. From there, we will go to the nature of corporations, type of corporations, corporate organizations, and as always, key takeaways. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and get into it. Intro. We're starting off with another awesome quote. A corporation is a legal entity created and recognized by state law. It is an artificial being existing only in law. Corporations are ancient but have become increasingly prevalent since the Industrial Revolution. Brother Hales, page 169. Nature of corporations. The law recognizes corporations as a person, meaning they are entitled to basic human rights, like access to courts, due process of law, speech, and freedom from unreasonable searches and seizure. Interesting, right? Mm-hmm. Great. Let's keep going. Corporations have something called a corporate veil, which is essentially a separation from a corporation and shareholders. When the corporation has outstanding debts, the shareholders are protected. This is different from partnerships, which the sole leader would be in charge of debts. However, this corporate veil is not a 100% protection. If fraud was committed, that would pierce the corporate veil, as the textbook says it. Failing to follow corporate formalities would also result in that veil being pierced. This would include when the corporation is set up to never make a profit or has insufficient capital at the time of formation to meet its prospective debts, when the corporation fails to hold required corporate meetings, when personnel and corporate assets interests are commingled to the extent that the corporation does not have a separate entity. Corporate personnel include shareholders who own stock and elect the board of directors, who lead the company, and partners who own the company. Pretty interesting. Corporations are taxed, sometimes doubly taxed. Corporations pay dividends to stock owners, which are taxed. Types of corporations. So there's quite a bit. There are many types. The classification depends on many factors. A domestic corporation is a corporation that is formed and operates in the same state. A foreign corporation, can you guess, is when is formed in one state but does business in another state. An alien corporation, not like the hit movie Signs starring Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix, is a company that was founded in one country and does business in another. Many corporations are operated out of Delaware, which is interesting because they have very pro-corporate, pro-business laws in place. So people like to do that. So, well, at any rate, let's move on. More corporations. These ones are a little bit more niche and nitty-gritty. Private corporations, which are created for private benefit. Public corporations that are formed for political or governmental purposes. Cities are examples of public corporations, which I thought was really interesting. Isn't that wild? Mm-hmm. Public held corporations, very different from public corporations. Public held corporations are corporations that are publicly traded, so like you can buy stocks on the stock market. Non-profit corporations are formed to not make a profit. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a non-profit organization. Closed corporations are corporations where the shares are held by a few people. They operate like a partnership. Professional corporations are corporations operated by professionals like lawyers, physicians, dentists, and accountants. These are designated by PAs, professional associations, or PCs, professional corporations. Corporate organization. Corporate organizations are determined by a corporate charter in Idaho. The articles of incorporation form needs to be filled with the Secretary of State to be completed. It contains basic info about the corporation, like the name, who it is registered to, and the number of shares included. Bylaws of a corporation dictate how the corporation will be governed. The bylaws include information about the officers and directors and the method of election and removal. Failure to comply with bylaws typically results in the impeachment or removal of officers in charge. You know how it is. Corporate powers are state-given powers to corporations, like perpetual existence, the ability to sue and be sued, to own and convey property, to enter into contracts, and 5, to have all powers necessary to effect its legal purposes. So, super interesting stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and talk about the key takeaways of this chapter. So I thought it was really interesting how corporations are seen as people, and they're afforded the same rights and privileges that you and me and everyone is afforded in the United States. Especially Mel Gibson from Signs, and his brother Joaquin Phoenix from Signs. So interesting how they're almost seen as people, but also interestingly enough, they're their own mini governments, and they operate within that state. The bylaws and the corporate charter are the constitution of the corporation, and these determine the many laws of the company and its method of government. This reminded me of my constitutional history and law class that I'm in. The method of government in these corporations is like that of the state in relation to the federal government. So, interesting. They have to abide by certain rules, but also can create their own method of governments and laws, as we stated earlier. So, that's the end of the lesson today. Make sure you guys are drinking your water. If you're going to leave water out, make sure you also have a baseball bat nearby. But make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys later.